Hey, what's going on, everyone? Welcome back to the Fairway feed. This week, we got the Pebble Beach Pro-AM that happened out in Monterey, California. Let's get right into it.
119, 112 down the hill. That's not a good line. How about that? Unbelievable. In the hole. Flies it in, Rory McIlroy.
All right, Pebble Beach. Not much needs to be said about this beautiful, iconic course. There's wonderful vistas overlooking the water. You have the iconic 7th hole par 3, and there's been some masterful tournament play to come out of this course. Going into round 1, there were a few very notable stories. There was a lot of chatter around Scottie Scheffler since this was his first tournament out this year since his hand injury back in December. The Irishmen were also out for blood. Rory McIlroy and Shane Lowry both carded a hole-in-one. Lowry managed to get his 3rd hole-in-one. He has the 16th at Augusta, the 17th at TPC Sawgrass, and now the iconic 7th hole at Pebble Beach. Personal bias aside, it was also really nice to see Viktor Hovland up there with his return to form. He was really striping the ball that first round, and although he's had a little bit of doubts in his head and he's been going in with trying to tinker with his golf swing a little bit more, I think he's on track to get back to the old Viktor Hovland that we saw from a few seasons ago. Round 2 brought more of the action, and a little bit of weather started to creep in as well. You couldn't help but feel for the announcer who absolutely fumbled Hideki Matsuyama's name.
I'm sorry.
Tony Finau started to climb the boards in round 2, and he actually just had his 6th child with his wife just the other week. Round 2 saw some electric shots, and even a few hole outs as well, which is always a crowd pleaser and sure to get them going as well. Heading into round 3 is when the weather really started to pick up. The winds were blowing heavy, the rain was coming down hard, and it was making a difficult time for some of those players. Tom Kim also saw himself making great strides, and he made a push to the top of the leaderboard as well. And after an absolutely electrifying TGL match earlier this week, where he was hands down the best part of that entire match, and in my opinion right now, probably the best part of TGL, it was really great to see him keep elevating himself. Heading into round 4, the weather was more deceptive than it actually appeared. Although the day was nice and sunny, the winds were still gusting quite strong. Not as bad as round 3, and certainly not as wet, but the windy conditions were giving some of the players a run for their money. The final pairing of McIlroy, Lowry, and Straka started with both Irishmen at 7 under and Straka at 2 under. The front 9 saw all of them quite close in contention until the back 9 when Rory started to pull away. Lowry and Straka decided to play a bit more risky on some of their shots, which led to some critical mistakes and even a volunteer catching a straight missile to the shoulder by Lowry. Ultimately though, it did not pan out for them as Rory ended up snagging his first win of the 2025 PGA Tour season. Now, Rory gets a lot of grief from the fans and how he has struggled to close out on major tournaments in the past few years, but I personally am happy to see him win because when Rory is on point, it is some of the best possible golf that you can watch. Next week, we have the Rowdy Waste Management Open out in Arizona, and we all know how that's going to go. I'm sure there's going to be a ton of stories coming out of there with some drunk idiots, but I'm sure we're going to have a good time. And then the following week, we are back out to San Diego at Torrey Pines for Tiger Woods' Genesis Invitational, and we'll see what that tournament brings us as well. Until next week, everybody, hit 'em straight and keep 'em in the fairway, and we'll see you real soon.